True story of the Koh-i-Noor diamond and why the British won't give it back. For centuries, the Koh-i-Noor diamond passed from one Indian ruler to another, often as a prize of war. According to Hindu belief, it was revered by gods like Krishna. But in the mid-1800s, the diamond had become part of the British crown jewels. A British writer then wrote about the history of the diamond, but historians Anita Adnan and William Dalrymple say that the writer got it all wrong. In their new book about the Koh-i-Noor, Adnan and Dalrymple tell the story of the diamond. But the story of the diamond prompts a more serious question. How should modern nations deal with treasures they possess that were likely stolen from colonies centuries ago? The Gemstone Throne. In 1526, Zahiruddin Babar invaded India. He was a Turco-Mongol leader from Central Asia, and he started the Islamic Mughal dynasty, or family of leaders. The Mughals would rule India for 330 years. In 1628, Mughal ruler Shah Jahan commissioned a magnificent gemstone-encrusted throne. Among the many gems that decorated the throne was the Koh-i-Noor diamond. It was placed at the very top of the throne. The bejeweled structure was inspired by the fabled throne of Solomon, the Hebrew king who figures in the histories of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. Shah Jahan's throne took 7 years to make, costing 4 times as much as the Taj Mahal, which was also under construction. In 1739, Nadir Shah invaded Delhi, the capital city of India. Nadir was the ruler of Persia. At the time, his empire included lands that would later become the countries of Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and many other countries. Nadir took the peacock throne when he left Delhi. The Koh-i-Noor would remain away from India for 70 years. It passed between the hands of various rulers as they battled each other. With all the fighting between Central Asian factions, India grew weak, and the British soon came to take advantage of that weakness. Excuse me. The Boy King and the British Crown. In 1813, after decades of fighting, Indian ruler Rajit Singh won back much of the Indian lands that the Afghan Durrani dynasty had seized. The diamond, too, returned to India. In their book, Adnan and Dalrymple explain that the diamond represented power to Singh. For the British, that symbol of power was very tempting. They had already established control of coastal cities of India and were expanding their control to the interior. If they could own the jewel of India as well as the country itself, it would show their power and colonial superiority. However, the British colonists were first forced to wait. After Ranjit Singh's death in 1839, the throne passed between 4 different rulers over 4 years. Then, the only people left in line for the throne were a young boy, Duleep Singh, and his mother, Rani Jindal. In 1849, the British forced Duleep to sign a legal document that gave the Koh-i-Noor to the British. The boy was only 10 years old. From there, the diamond became a special possession of Queen Victoria. It went on display, and many people who had heard about the diamond were not impressed by it. Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband, had the stone recut and polished. This process reduced the diamond's size by half, but made the light shine more brilliantly from its surface. The diamond eventually became part of the crown jewels. In 1937, it was set at the front of the crown worn by the Queen Mother. She was wife of George VI, great-grandson of Victoria, and the mother of Queen Elizabeth II. What makes a diamond loot? If you ask anybody what should happen to Jewish art stolen by the Nazis, everyone would say, of course they've got to be given back to their owners, Dalrymple says. He explains that the treasures of India were also taken by force, yet no one says they should be given back. He questions why the two situations are treated differently. Richard Curran is a scholar with Smithsonian. He says that figuring out the line of owners for a gem like the Koh-i-Noor is the best practice when it comes to history. However, he says that doing so does not necessarily need to lead to a legal need to return a treasure. He and Dalrymple both point out that the rulers who once owned these gemstones headed nations that no longer exist. Unraveling colonial history is complex and complicated. By the time you hit the second or third owner over time, the information can get more difficult to research, says Jane Maloche. She is the head of a research department at the Smithsonian. This is why I say it's important that these things not be yanked out of museums, because at least people have access and can study them until we know for sure if they were looted. The Koh-i-Noor isn't the only contested treasure currently residing in Britain. Perhaps equally controversial are the Elgin marbles, statues carved 2,500 years ago and taken from the Parthenon in Athens by British Lord Elgin in the early 1800s. So far, Britain has retained ownership of the statues and the diamond, regardless of calls for their return. Adnan thinks one solution that does not require removing the Koh i Noor from its crown is to make the history of the diamond clearer. What I would dearly love is for there to be a really clear sign by the exhibit. People are taught this was a gift from India to Britain. I would like the correct history to be put by the diamond. Dalrymple agrees that telling the true history is half the battle. Whenever we lecture, we find people who are horrified by the history, but they're not resistant. They just weren't aware of it. The diamond is not likely to leave the crown jewels anytime soon. Adnan and Dalrymple only hope that their work will do some good by clarifying the true path the gemstone followed. They also hope their work helps leaders come to their own conclusions about what to do with it next.